right. Hello. I'm Andrew Z. We got a special guest in with us today, and I am a huge fan. He's a Hollywood legend. His name is Bruce Vilanch, and if I did everything right, he's on with us right now. Bruce, are you there?
I am here,
Oh.
live and in color.
Let me tell you something about yourself, okay?
Okay.
Okay. When it comes to Bruce Vilanch, I am on a 1 to 10. I am a 10 fan. When it comes to Hollywood, you are anyone in the Hollywood industry on a level of knowing and respecting you. It's a 10 from almost everybody in the industry. And then I talk to people out on the streets. And of course, you're a writer, so I get that. But a lot of people don't know who Bruce Vilanch is. I'm like, are you kidding? He's behind some of the biggest things Hollywood has ever done. He's got 2 Emmys. He's written for the Oscars for 25 years. I mean, you are a legend, my friend.
What can I say? I appreciate that. I'm in airports sometimes taking selfies with people, and somebody will be walking by and they'll go, "Who's he? Why is there a group around him?" So it's one of the kind of like lovely selective fames. It's not like Justin Bieber where they're clawing for a piece of your skin. I mean, it's kind of nice. I've been behind the scenes forever, and then Hollywood Squares put me on TV every night. So I was for about 6 years. I was in everybody's mind for a minute, and then there's nothing cooler than somebody who's used to be on television every night. I say there's nothing colder than somebody who's used to be on television every night. So I get that kind of fame. But it's nice that they like me. I mean, you could also, there are a lot of people who they say everybody knows who he is, but they all hate him.
That is definitely not the case. That's the thing too. Is anybody that knows who you are, when they mention your name, you have a smile on their face. I mean, you make people smile. I mean, not only with your looks, and that's not offensive, I don't think, but I mean, you're a unique looking guy. It's your brand. Exactly. Yeah. But you put a smile on people's face.
Well, lovely. That's the best thing I can say about anybody as far as I'm concerned.
I totally agree with that, man. By the way, we're talking to Bruce Vilanch. He's going to be at the McMaster Center, Toledo, Maine Library this Thursday at 7 p.m. If you want to get tickets, you can go to the Facebook page. They have it posted there.
I think it's Tuesday.
It's April 10th, it says.
Oh, no, it is 10. I'm sorry, you're right. I was thinking of Detroit. Forgive me.
That's okay, Detroit.
You're an hour away from you, but I'm doing Detroit first. You're
okay.
Absolutely right.
Gotcha. Yeah, you're doing us on Thursday the 10th. So get your tickets to see Bruce Vilanch. His new book out it's called, and I have it in front of me, but my Chiron is over it, so I can't see it. It seemed like a good idea at the time. Am I right?
That's right.
From the top of my head. Okay. Yes.
It's like a bad idea at the time. Well, it's about all the It's about how I wrote the worst TV shows in history and lived, and they have too through the internet. But I came on the title because whenever you have a flop and people are telling you, that was what mess. How did they awful? And you always say, well, it seemed like a good idea at the time. Well, no. These all seemed like bad ideas at the time. But, when they come to you with a bad idea and you go, that's just terrible. How much are you paying me? Oh, well, I could maybe find a way to make this work. So,
well, that's the thing.
These are the things that you take in spite of them. And at a certain point in your life, you have to own, you have to own your shame.
Yeah. Everyone has to pay.
I decided it was time after all these podcasts with people asking me about these shows, people who were not born when I wrote them, So I thought, okay, they just want to know how they happened.
Well, and the thing is too, it's like, you've been in Hollywood for 50 years, and just like us, we've all done something we weren't really proud of, but at some point you still got to pay bills. The bills are going to come.
Yep. This is true.
Bruce,
it's also important to remember in this case that a lot of these things were done in the 70s and in the 80s, and people say they remember the 70s. If they say that to you, that means they weren't there.
Yes.
A lot of these decisions were made in clouds of smoke and other substances, and the creative community was always a little baked at this point. So,
Well,
so except people on the Lawrence Welk show, that kind of thing.
well,
But
yeah,
uh,
of course.
it was always a weird era where people were doing bizarre things.
Did you ever think back in the '70s that you would be living in a time when like all that shit would be legal, like the weed, everything's just legal now. It's just nobody cares what you do anymore.
No, and and that was part of the fun, frankly, because everybody got to be an outlaw. I mean, it was one of those weird situations where you were doing something that everybody pretty much was doing, and everybody knew it wasn't legal, but they were doing it anyway. Kind of like prohibition.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Well,
Where,
it's
you're
funny.
sitting in a speakeasy and this is not, you're against the law, but everybody's doing it because the law is a little crazy.
Exactly. Well, it's funny because I live in a suburb of Toledo called Perrysburg, and it's one of those hoity-toity suburbs, and they just Ohio just got passed for legalized marijuana for recreational use, but man, this little town here, they're not allowing you to sell weed in this town, and it's like, dude, everyone in this town smokes weed in their house. It's like, why are you
Yeah.
pretending like it's not happening? Because it's happening everywhere.
Exactly. I mean, yeah, we've been behind our behavior.
Right.
The
Yes.
legislature trails behind us in behavior.
No, you're no stranger to Ohio. I saw that when you graduated college, didn't you go to the Ohio State University for a
I went
minute?
to the Ohio State University. Yes, indeed. I was in Columbus for 5 years, and I really loved it. It was actually, it was the '60s. It was um, the Vietnam and revolt, and we had National Guard on the campus the same day as Kent State, only they didn't fire on us. Uh,
Oh,
and at Kent State they did.
right.
So I was in the midst of all that turmoil, being the editor of the Ohio State Lantern, circulation of 50,000. Uh, so it was an invigorating era. It really our graduation was canceled because they were afraid that there would be riots, and they had to pay Walter Cronkite a kill fee. Now, if you don't know who Walter Cronkite was, well, he was like the voice of network television news.
Uh-huh.
He was like the biggest thing, and he got a lot of money to come and do a speech. And I got to know him a little bit later on, and he said, "Yeah, that was the most money I ever made for not talking."
Well, it's funny. It's funny because you, at least you and I do the same thing. I realize that we're an older generation, so I'm always having to explain things that anyone
Right.
should know. Everyone should know who Walter Cronkite is. But now, I mean, there's people that weren't even born for 9/11. Like my kid is 18, and she doesn't even know 9/11. So we have to explain some of this stuff that you think that people would just take for granted.
Well, I think that the later generations are much more narcissistic than mine. We were very interested in everything that went before us, and now they're aided by social media, which I refer to as keyboard warfare,
Mm.
and it's narcissism central. The whole world has become high school. People are very busy TikToking each other and Instagramming each other, and it's all about them
Yep.
and what they're doing in that moment. And there leaves very little time to study what went before that moment.
Mm.
So
God,
I think
that's
it's a new I
so
think it's
true.
a new phenomenon that sociologists haven't really grappled with yet
Totally
in any
agree.
meaningful way.
Totally agree.
But it's definitely there. I mean, you see it. Of course, you see it in your own kids,
Hmm.
who they just there is no history before Steven Spielberg if they go back that far. You know,
Well, here's the crazy thing, Bruce, as well, is like, unless it's a big movie, like my kids don't watch TV. They don't turn the TV on anymore. Like, their celebrities to them are these fucking
yeah.
TikTokers that do nothing.
Exactly. I mean, it's beyond Kardashians. Kardashians at least come up with perfume. The TikTokers just do. They're famous for being famous. In an old expression that was only applied to like the Gabor sisters when I was a kid, or
For the
or Bianca Jagger, who was
for
famous for being Mick Jagger's wife. She
right.
was famous.
Absolutely, she was. We're talking to Bruce Vilanch, Hollywood legend, man. I love him. His book is called "It Seemed Like a Bad Idea at the Time." He's going to be at the McMaster Center, Toledo Library, next Thursday at 7 p.m. Get your tickets. You were talking about knowing Walter Cronkite a little bit. I mean, you were friends with you were friends with the most iconic people that live. I mean, like you're friends
Yeah.
with Whoopi Goldberg, Rosie O'Donnell. I mean, these are all your friends.
They're all people I worked with. I mean, we're all in the same business, and sooner or later you run into them. Especially when you do the kind of stuff I do. I mean, I wrote 25 Academy Award shows,
Hmm.
and everybody shows up on the Oscars at one point or another.
Hmm.
They walked through those rooms, and I was there with them. That's how I met a lot of people. But I also did a ton of those variety shows that had guest stars, and of course we did years of Hollywood Squares where there were there were nine notables in the squares
Hmm.
every show. So you do tend to run across a lot of people, and it's an industry party town, and so is New York, and
Yeah.
so you just meet a lot of people. I think if I was a novelist, living in a cabin in Maine and getting hobbled by my nurse, I probably wouldn't have all this social interaction. But that's not what I do.
Is that what you do?
That's what Stephen King does. Nobody knows Stephen King. I mean, a few people who've worked with him know him, but he's
Right.
not a guy who gets around a lot.
Are you one of those guys that ever thought about like just leaving Hollywood and coming into one of those like a Stephen King, like just coming to a podunk town like Toledo and just
Nah,
but you're a Hollywood guy, right?
I'm too social.
Yeah.
My manager always said to me, you're your own special creation. You're not going to go hole up in a cabin and write a novel and not talk to anybody for 3 months, which is how most novelists work.
Yes.
I mean, they if they're really novel. I mean, the first one they write whenever they have a chance because they're trying to make a living. But if that one hits, then from then on they're doing this for a living, and that they isolate because that's how they have to do to focus on what they're writing. You don't churn out a 400 500 page novel with doing it at night quietly while the kids are asleep.
Right. What,
Maybe
what,
the first.
but living in LA, like what do you have to make? Like for instance, if you had $500,000, you pay rent out here, it's $1,500. I mean, you could live comfortably for many many years on $500,000. But I'm guessing that might get you through a year in LA. I don't know.
I shudder to think because now the price of everything is about to go up
I
if it
know.
hasn't already. So I don't know what it would cost, and there are different ways of living. So
But it's just a wonder. Like, could you take Hollywood money and go to a little town, and then you'd be like you'd be the town millionaire forever.
yeah, well, I think that's happened in some instances.
It has. It has. So who do you consider your? You said you know all these people just because the Hollywood Square. Well, I want to do this. I want to challenge you. Do you remember the joke that made you laugh the funniest in 25 years of writing Oscars? Do you remember one joke that you
My
still
God.
remember and could be like, man, that was funny. That was fucking
Well,
funny.
the truth is, I remember the jokes that didn't land, that didn't get on the air. Um, my favorite is a joke we had for Steve Martin the first year.
Hmm.
He was going to come on after the monologue and say, "Well, I have good news and bad news. The bad news is my fly was open throughout the entire monologue, and the good news is the camera puts on 10 pounds."
That's funny.
And it's funny, and we got it by the network censor, and everybody said go with it. And as he was walking out after the commercial, he's turned to me and said, "I can't do that joke." It always gnawed at him that there was something a little bit salacious about it.
Right. Right.
It's,
It's
that's the beauty of it. It's a little bit salacious,
you know
and
what.
I couldn't convince him. And he's about to walk out to 1 billion people, so he just didn't do it.
You know
But
what's.
that's the one that whenever I tell people, they
I
scream.
love it. I love
Uh,
it. That's funny. Well,
that's the one. I'd rather the ones that got on the air. There are a lot of them, but I couldn't single any one thing out.
it's funny though your show business mentality shows because I think anyone that performs on any level, whether it's small town radio like I do, or it's the awards that are watched by billions, we tend to focus on the negative. It's like you can have a social media, you can post something and have 90 comments, and you focus on that one asshole that said something negative. And same with you, you're like, I can't remember any of the good jokes, but man, I sure remember the
Right.
bad one.
It seemed like a bad idea at the time.
There you
That's,
go.
I mean, that's why I couldn't believe they remembered these shows. We thought we had buried them, but evidently
Oh my
the graves were not shallow enough. because they all turned up on the internet,
Oh
and
my.
you can look at any of them now. I mean, in fact, people who are reading the book now send me emails saying, "Oh, I see what you were talking about.
Hmm.
I'd never seen the show, but now I watched it on YouTube."
Well, yeah, you write it with Donnie and Marie show, which I mean that was legendary. I mean, God,
Yeah,
variety
that was
shows.
a hit.
The
I
the,
mean,
the Donnie the Donnie Marie's and the Carol Burnett's. Could you do a variety show like that now?
no, probably not, for a couple of reasons. One is that there aren't those kind of triple threat performers
Mm.
out there anymore who could host it, and it's not a big deal to see a star that you love on television because they're available for you on the internet
Hmm.
at any moment of the day. So it's not a it would have to be a sort of a meeting of, like, I don't know who, Madonna and Elvis Presley, that kind of thing, to get people to actually tune in. That's one thing, and the other thing is that it used to be you couldn't get away with at 8 o'clock on a Tuesday what SNL gets away with at 11:30 on a Saturday night,
Hmm.
because the standards were so relaxed for at that hour,
Hmm.
and but that kind of television died away anyway. So because cable came in, but that was the other reason. And variety hasn't gone away. It's there. It's just all competition now. It's the Masked Singer. What's more ridiculous than that? So you think you can yodel, The Voice, America's Got Talent,
Yeah.
all of those things. Those are all variety shows.
Yeah.
But the difference is the hosts are the judges, more or less. There's a nominal host,
Hmm.
but the judges are what people tune in to watch, to watch them, their reactions to these people, and they load them up with backstories. Everybody has a very sympathetic family story to
Hmm.
tell, in addition to singing a high M above L. They really can. It's a variety show.
Hmm.
So and you can't compete with that, because the thing, America loves competition. That's why, I mean, football is the biggest thing in the world,
Right.
because of the rugged competition.
Hmm.
So they like seeing Simon Cowell put people down,
Hmm.
and they like seeing those people emerge victorious, in spite of that.
Hmm.
That's all entertainment.
Let me.
It's not like Carol Burnett. No.
Right. I'm gonna challenge you, Mr. Vilanch. I'm gonna challenge you. You're gonna be in. You're on the road, so I'm guessing you have a little bit of time. You're gonna be in Toledo on Thursday. I challenge you to watch the oh shoot, what is her name? Oh, the Sabrina Carpenter Christmas special. It was on Netflix,
Oh, wow.
and I'm sure you can still get it. You talk about triple threat. I think people think it's creepy because I'm old and she's not, but she
Yes.
is so. That show is so phenomenal. She can sing phenomenally. Her timing is great. It's like old school timing, and it was like cheeky comedy. It was really. It's about 40 minutes. You can knock it out in a little bit of time.
I didn't even know. I will look it up.
I
I didn't even
challenge
know
you.
about it.
It's Sabrina. The
But
Sabrina.
that's Netflix, so she has complete freedom to do what she wants to do.
Right.
If
Right.
she were doing that on NBC, she'd have to deal with the people from Kraft Cheese, who would say, "Oh, I'm sorry, you're showing too much cleavage,"
Right.
that kind of stuff.
Right.
So
Well,
that's why, and of course, Netflix is a big payday up front.
Mm.
So
It's funny. She made one joke in one of the songs at the beginning. She says something like, and I never thought I would do a Christmas show, and then Netflix wrote me a big check.
right. I think she was on SNL. I don't think she hosted. I think she was the musical guest.
Yeah.
And then, of course, all she did was a couple of her numbers,
Yeah.
which are like what a lot of those girls do.
Mhm.
Very sexy,
Right. Right.
and a lot of less costume and a lot of twerking and stuff. And it didn't interest me particularly, but I could see that she had talent.
Wait.
But
You're not straight, Bruce Vilanch?
no, I'm sorry. I hate to reveal. I'm coming out now on radio in Toledo. I thought it was time.
I think the hold on. The library just canceled your appearance. I think.
uh, or they're putting me in another department.
Right, exactly. Bruce Vilanch is on with us now. Bruce, you said you come across so many people with the Oscars and just being out in Hollywood for as long as you have. Who would you consider your friends? Or like who would we know? Who would we know here in little old Toledo that you consider a friend that you could text with right now? That's in your phone.
Well, I've been working with Bette Midler for over 50 years. So
Mm.
if either of us can reach the phone and actually use our thumbs anymore, we would text each other, which we do all the time.
Uh-huh.
So I mean, she's I met her here. I'm in Chicago right now. I met her in Chicago in the 70s or 1970, I think, and we've been close ever since. So that's one. And everybody who started with her, I'm still friendly with. Her piano player was Barry Manilow, who's in Vegas now,
Wow.
and who I talk to all the time. And Melissa Manchester was her backup. Luther Vandross,
Mm.
who was with us for years, was her offstage singing voice, hitting high notes.
Wow.
He weighed about 400 pounds then, and he didn't want to come on stage, but
Really?
yeah, he got over that, and of course became a gigantic star.
Mm-hmm.
But and I'm friendly with all those people. Originally, there was a reunion of the Harlettes last weekend in L.A. and with Katie Seagal and Jennifer Lewis and
Mm.
all the girls who had were her backup singers. And our joke was, I called them my backup singers because that's what I keep saying to them: backup singers, backup.
God, I watched that Luther Vandross documentary. What a talent that guy was, man.
Yeah, I haven't seen that. I know it was a CNN thing.
Yeah,
I've been
yeah,
meaning
yeah.
to watch. I mean, I'm not in it. I was not interviewed for it, but he was. And when Luther did his stage act, I worked on that with him because he had jokes and said a few different things. And I went on the road, and I was in the tour bus. I was the only white guy on the tour bus. Uh, it was me and his manager, who was another white Jewish guy. So we, we we were the show business representatives on the what was basically an R&B tour. Uh, but that's for another book. That is a whole book.
It's a whole
I'd like to
book.
do a movie about that because that was a great experience. Sleeping on a shelf. That's what those beds are like on tour buses.
Oh, I know they're beautiful, but man, I hear the sleeping conditions are not good.
Oh well, the star has a stateroom in the back, and everybody else sleeps on a shelf,
Oh,
bunk beds, but they're built into the bus. So you have to dominate to get the middle bunk because the top bunk,
mhm.
the ceiling is right over your face, and the bottom bunk you're above the wheels.
No, I heard.
There is a science to being a musician on the road.
Man, if you were a big guy, that would suck.
Oh yeah, it's awful. Yeah, it really is. It's not fun. But there are people who live by it. I mean, even on Bet's tours,
Uh huh.
where the band they loved it. The girl there was a certain camaraderie about all of it. And it's the road. It's kind of like you see in old movies. You see band buses and stuff. And it's. I mean, there are some nice luxury perks to it, but
Hmm.
they're mostly for the star. Dolly's tour bus is one of my favorites because there are no the top bunks; those are shelves for the wigs.
Really?
Yeah, and you're lying there in the bed, and the wigs are staring at you
We,
from above.
this is this country right here that we live in this area, man. We love Dolly Parton because you got Nashville and the Smoky Mountain. A lot of people go to the Smoky Mountains from here. They just
Yeah.
drive. It's 5.5, 6 hours. Do you have a good Dolly story?
I do actually. I have several because I worked with her over the years, and I just wrote a musical with her, which we called
Oh,
"Here You Come Again." We're using her catalog, which we did in a couple of regional theaters here, and then in the UK
uh huh.
for 6 months. Now we're doing it in Australia for 6 months. But uh, God, I'm trying to think of what there are. There are just so many.
Well,
There are just so many, and some of them, are just inappropriate for me to tell at this
it's
time. She just lost her husband. Well, I can't
uh,
really tell these stories. Um, but there's a great one. It'll be in the next book probably. She was on the Oscars and she sang. She'd written a song that was nominated for the best original song. It was from a movie called Beethoven's Fifth. Beethoven was a big Saint Bernard,
oh yeah,
and yeah, and they did a bunch. He did at least five movies starring him, and trouble followed him everywhere.
right.
And in this one, he mated with a female Saint Bernard who we called Misty Beethoven because that was a porno star at the time. And when it was nominated, we had her on the Oscars, singing the song, which was one of her very treacly ballads. You know how she said, "Daddy got caught in the coal mine, and Mama's run over by the mail truck," that kind of song, you know. And so she's singing it with her guitar, and you know she hasn't seen her feet in many years, so she's strumming on the guitar, and the network censor is going crazy because then her nipples are coming through on the camera, and you know, and they're quite something. As you know, they are like the craters of the moon, and she's singing, and we had the two Saint Bernards on either side of her, and in the middle of the song, one of them took a huge dump on the stage, which of course she couldn't tell because she, as I say, had not seen her feet for years. But the aroma stung her eyes, and she began crying. And you know, people, and mascara's running, and people are going, "Oh, she's really into the song." and they're doing camera maneuvers so nobody at home will see what's actually happening, which is the guy in a tuxedo is sweeping up the dog turds. and she's singing along like nothing's going right. It's a great moment.
Is she
I have to find that tape.
Is she as genuinely? I mean, she's one of those people. The reason America loves her, she just seems like so just her like who she is on and off stage. Is that true?
She is. She shoots from the hip. She you know, all those phrases. She tells it like it is. Calls them as she sees them, but she's wildly generous and incredibly open-hearted. And you know, the essence of hers. I have a line in the show where she's talking about. She mistook something that somebody said, and she said, "If I said it out loud, I'd lose the theme park." and she says, "Well, you know, I only built it to keep my relatives working." she says, "Oh, you cook great. I'll put you in the kitchen at Dollywood as soon as one of my cousins died." Because her whole family is on that payroll, you know. And I believe her when she said that.
Right.
She wanted, you know, she came from like 13 kids or 11 kids, I forget. I get her confused with Celine, who had as big a family as Dolly has, but she had she's given everybody work. I mean, she's amazing.
Are you talking about Celine Dion?
Yeah, Celine Dion, who I worked with also before she went to Vegas. When she was just touring in stadiums, basically. When she started, I met her because she didn't speak English very well, and I speak French, and so we got along, and I could help her into like English, and we did a routine about her learning English and a lot of stuff like that. And you had to talk on stage, you know, but all of her songs were love songs, and this is a woman who met the beloved of her life when she was 13, and he was a bit older, and then when she was like legal, they got married, and was with him up until he died. So she had no experience singing about lost love. You know what I mean? What all those songs are about,
right?
And so she had nothing to relate to in those songs that she could talk about with the audience. So we had to come up with other stuff. And we did, and it was great. And then she went to Vegas, and it was all spectacle, a lot of spectacle. She didn't have to talk too much at all. So.
Right. I went to I saw her at her very first won a radio contest or something through the radio station. I went there, saw her first show at when they built that Caesar's Palace Theater for her, and it was a great show. It combined her with Cirque du Soleil because she, like you said, she doesn't do a lot herself, so she lets them do all the stuff to make it entertaining, and she just sang her ass off, and she's amazing.
It was put together by Franco Dragone, who had run Cirque du Soleil and left, and it had a lot of Cirque elements in it, and it worked for what it was. I mean, people didn't like it as much because. Oh, he cut her hair. He made her go blonde and cut her hair like Peter Pan. And it was a different look. And I think that it scared them. But listen, she ran it 5 years and made a lot of money. When she came back 5 years later, it was a show that Ken Ehrlich put together, who produced the Grammy Awards for years. And she had also she'd matured as a performer. So she had a whole new bag of tricks that she could use. And that show was more balanced. It was more. It was Vegas spectacle and her, and that was a great show too.
Bruce Vilanch, I just got a text message in. Were you on Shark Tank?
I was, yeah.
Were you,
I was on Shark Tank some years ago. A friend of mine came up with a program. He's a computer nerd,
uh huh.
and he came up with a program that you could put in your computer, the computer that you gave to grandma,
Uh huh.
so that you could FaceTime with her and all that. And it was a tutorial. The computer came with a tutorial loaded up that would take grandma through all the steps of getting online and how to use the computer.
Uh huh.
And of course, he pitched it to Star Trek and at Star Trek. They knew about computers at Star Trek.
Right.
Yes, what was it? Shark Tank. He pitched it to Shark Tank, and they said, "Well, if you bring on a celebrity to demonstrate it, you will have you on."
Uh huh.
And he asked me if I would do it, so I went on and did it. And I think, and the panel, the sharks, thought two things. One, they figured I was there. It was a joke thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
They were being punked.
Right.
But the other thing, very realistically, was there is no one's going to invest in this because there is no potential for growth. The market for this thing is dying off.
Right.
It's for a market that was shrinking before your eyes because everybody else who was coming into computers already knew about
Right.
computers and had grown up, And this was really for people who had older relatives
Mm-hmm.
who they wanted to bring into the circle, but they wouldn't be around long enough to make an investment in for a show, you know. So they took those two ideas and they lambasted this poor guy.
Mm.
It just made him. And when we came out, I said, "I'm sorry that they treated you just like shit. This is just awful."
Mm-hmm.
And he said, "It doesn't matter. Watch." And the week that the thing aired,
Mm-hmm.
he got 100,000 hits in the first hour after
Wow.
the show.
Wow.
So the dirty secret is nobody loses on Shark Tank.
Mm-hmm.
You appear there and you get tremendous interest in whatever it is you were selling, whether they invest in you or not.
Right.
And if they invest in you, it's kind of like, yeah, it gets you back on the show
Uh-huh.
periodically,
Uh-huh.
but it also they tend to be a colossal pain in the ass
Right.
when they
Well,
they
I would
to
I would think if
they
you
have to show success, right?
right.
So
I would think if you didn't get on, it might be even better because you get the same publicity, yet you don't have to deal with
you-
their bullshit.
you're exactly right,
Mm.
on the nose. And so he was very happy. But he said the hard part is getting on.
Mm.
Once you're on, it doesn't matter
Were
because
Were you a fan
there
of the show?
you will reach the market you want to reach for
Right.
your thing.
Right. Were you a fan of the show?
Yeah, I got a kick out of watching. I mean, I don't get a kick out of any show where there are judges who are telling you what's good and what's bad. I mean, I've been asked to be a judge on a bunch. I was asked to be a judge on the stand-up shows, and I just never felt comfortable sitting there telling somebody what to do and what not to do because it's like you're coaching them, but you're at the same time you're coaching them, but then you're giving them 7 points where they want 10 or something like
Right.
that.
Right. Right.
Because it's a competition, and I just didn't. I don't know. I never felt comfortable being a part of that. Life is enough of a competition.
Oh, I know. You're right. Do you miss like because we all know TV is dying, radio's dying. I mean, I don't know how much time these mediums have left, but man, I miss the days of old school where on a Thursday night everyone would sit around and on a Friday morning would talk about Friends, or
Yeah.
on a Monday everyone would talk about the Oscars. And now if it's
Right.
not if it's not the Super Bowl or maybe one other thing, I mean, everyone's just doing their own thing.
Yeah. Well, first of all, now there's no water cooler. Social media is the water cooler, and it happens from the minute they start.
Yeah.
There are people who do real time critiques of shows as they're going on,
Right.
and so when you have that at your disposal, why are you going to bother to wait until the next day to have an opinion? And everybody has an opinion. It's unfiltered, as I say, it's narcissism central. You get to say what you think instantly without any regard for what you're doing or for what the thought might be or how harmful or anything like that. So that's changed. What hasn't changed about TV is that, bizarrely enough, the biggest watched things, other than specials
Mm-hmm.
on Netflix and Amazon or all that, are shows that were big hit on regular television. That's why Friends didn't get sold for $1 billion for nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Big Bang Theory. I mean, all of these things that are routinely seen by people on television get re-seen by people on the platforms more than the stuff that the platforms are producing.
Mm.
And that certainly could change, but at the
Right.
moment, that's what the story is.
Right.
And so that's one reason why it still pays to come up with a show that's a hit on network television.
So do you still get like royalty checks and stuff? Is that how you live, or is it the new stuff you do?
Well,
Huh?
if you don't work for Netflix, yeah, Netflix created the upfront buyout,
Mm.
which means they pay you a big amount of money up front and you don't get any royalties. The standard issue is that, yeah, you keep getting royalties forever. I mean, Lucy Arnaz keeps getting royalties from I Love Lucy,
Mm-hmm.
and she's 70 years old at this point. So, but the idea is when you had ownership of those television shows, you kept getting the royalties on. Uh, the participants, the royalties at a certain point dribble out.
Uh-huh.
There's the residuals, they're called,
Uh-huh.
and but I still get them. I still get weird checks from Hollywood Squares because they're syndicating somewhere. I
Right.
mean, the Game Show Network was showing it for a while, but it's funny to just to get a check for something that you did a long, long time ago. But it happens.
Well, Bruce Vilanch, you are amazing. I'm telling you. I mean, when you come to town, I want to buy you a Tony Paco's hot dog. That's our
All right.
it's our big thing here in town next Thursday. When you come into town,
Sounds very gay, Andrew. I don't know
it
how to
sounds
break
very
it to you.
gay. Well, I don't. Yeah, I guess you're right. No, do you have?
Combining a taco and a hot dog is about as gay.
Take a gay guy to come go get a hot dog with me. Let's go. Ooh, and they have a giant hot dog too. And it's not.
No,
It's,
no shit.
you are an absolute delight, and you're a treasure. And you seem like one
Thank
of
you.
those guys that is the exact same on as off. And that's to find someone genuine in Hollywood is not easy to do. And I think that's you're one of those people, and I think that's why people are drawn to you as well, because of your authenticness.
Thank you.
Especially
Good to
now,
hear.
TV is just so shitty, and like even reality television, it's just all so script. People are I think that's one of the reasons why TikTok is so big. I mean, I know it's dumb and people are just dancing around and doing dumb shit, but man, at least it's authentic, and I think people miss that authenticity on by Hollywood.
Well, yeah. I mean, Hollywood was never a center of authenticity, but what reality television has taught us is that nothing is real.
Mm.
The first rule of reality TV is nothing is real. Things are, if not actually scripted, then out envisioned and created so the situation will occur. I did Celebrity Fit Club where I lost 30 pounds, which I found, but they kept making stuff up. They would say, "Oh, did you hear what so and so said about you?" And I said, "Listen, you don't have to try and get me angry. If you want me to play angry, you're paying me a lot of money. I will play angry. I'm an actor. You want us to get angry in this scene, we'll get angry in this scene." So it's like, of course, it's not real,
Mm-hmm.
but they're trying to make it real by actually making stuff up that will get you angry,
Mm.
so you can stage a scene, which is also not real.
Right.
So I said, let's eliminate the middleman here.
I'll
Tell me
just
what you want, and I'll do it.
Yeah. You're easy. What'd you say? Between you, your career, your 50+ year career in Hollywood, and then I'm sure as a kid, the show. I'm sure you were familiar with everything almost since the beginning of Hollywood, because Hollywood's about 80, 90, 100 years old. I mean, you at least in reruns or something, you know all of it. What do you think is the greatest television show that you've ever watched or that has ever been produced? Could you even do that? Could you say that?
No, I mean, how could you do it? I mean, there've been so many great things. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
God knows there's a lot of crap, but
Mm-hmm.
there've been so many great things. I mean, I couldn't single anything out. And also, you'd have to say, well, what genre are you talking about? Drama, comedy. I mean, they're just I don't know.
You're a comedian. That's your strong suit. What do you think? Okay, give me one or two
I would
of
say
the
that
best.
the one comedy series that I think is like no others
Mm-hmm.
it was Roseanne, and The
Mm.
Con the Connors is carrying on like it because it has a real blue collar view of the world, and it's about a dysfunctional family that they all love each other, but they are all dysfunctional, and they spar with each other, but you know that they don't mean it. I mean that there's a foundation there, and I think that's true of a lot of people. We have dysfunctional families, and we go through stuff, and a lot of people spend a lot of time worrying about money and where things are coming from, and they get overloaded with emotion. And that was one of the only shows I can ever remember that depicted all of that. Hey, it wasn't Friends about 6 hot people living in a fabulous apartment none of them could afford, and having these, these careers, these sort of like edgy fantasy careers.
I don't have the pedigree of Bruce Vilanch, but I am going to respectfully push back. And if you're going to say that, maybe if you picked a genre like that time, maybe the Connors. But how are you going to say Roseanne is one of the best shows of all time? That's crazy talk, Bruce. Dementia's obviously sitting in clearly.
Yeah, okay, if you say so. I mean, maybe it was the question that was demented.
I mean, because for me, like, I would say Lucy, and really, honestly, if you want to go around the Roseanne time, I would say Modern Family is such a genius show, and the reason I think so.
That was later than
That's
than
true.
Roseanne.
It was.
But to give you the God's honest truth, I am not a fan of shows that pretend to be documentaries. I could not get into The Office or Parks and Rec or Modern Family or anything where they're looking at the camera like the camera. Whoa, there's a camera here. I mean, I think it's a bogus way of doing a show, and I know those shows are very popular. They just don't reach me. That's all.
Okay,
They just don't reach me.
Because the reason I love Modern Family, and I would say probably one of the best shows that I've ever watched in my 50+ years on this earth, is just because, and I understand what you're saying, it's the fake documentary feel, but the one I love is, man, you can be dying laughing at the beginning and crying at the end. Like, there's always this tinge of sweetness to it, and not a lot of shows can take you on that kind of journey that I think that Modern Family was able to take you on.
Okay, I think Roseanne took us on that journey all the time. But
all right.
That's part of why it was great.
Well, Bruce Vilanch, I could talk to you all afternoon, but I'm sure you'd rather do something you're getting paid to do. So,
I'll be over any minute.
McMaster Center, Toledo Main Library, next Thursday, 7 p.m. Get your tickets. The book is called "It Seemed Like a Bad Idea at the Time." Now, are you going to be selling books there, or should we get them ahead of time and have them signed there?
Well, go ahead, get them ahead of time. I think they will be selling them there, yeah. But
okay.
I honestly don't know, but I'm guessing yes.
Okay. I mean, Grammys, Oscars, Tonys, Hollywood Squares, and really his fingerprint on so much of Hollywood over the last 50 years that you don't even know about. Just a pure genius. And it's been an honor to take a few minutes of the time to talk to you, man. I really appreciate it.
Thanks. It was fun.
Oh, great. Good. Awesome, Bruce. We'll see you in safe travels, and we'll see you in Toledo, my friend.
Toledo.
All right. There it is. Mr. Bruce Vilanch. What an amazing dude. I love it. Thank you guys for listening. We appreciate it. We will see you later. Have a great weekend.